Back to our main theme here, which is Ottawapiskat. But you know what? Ottawapiskat is not the only reserve that's currently under investigation. The situation in Peguis is also being probed. Last year, a review by Aboriginal Affairs showed irregularities concerning that Manitoba Reserve's record-keeping and compensation claims for the chief. It's turning into a sad trend, we see. Nicole Dube is following this from Winnipeg with the latest. Nicole.
Yes, Anita, following various financial controversies with Peguis First Nation, that Peguis First Nation still remains under co-management. As Sun News reported back in March of 2012, a federal auditor found some issues with how $10 million in flood compensation was spent, including questionable payments to chief and council members, poorly documented flood-related project expenditures, and dubious staffing decisions. Included in that audit was what appeared to have been a claim for severance paid to the chief and council, amounting to about $142,000, and also timesheets that were possibly falsified, and even hours paid that hadn't even been worked. As for where this audit case currently stands, I did hear from the press secretary for Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development, Minister John Duncan. The press secretary tells me that with an investigation currently underway, it would be inappropriate for the department to comment any further on that. But in the meantime, Peguis Chief Glenn Hudson, he still remains very well paid in a community of about 7,200 people. It did come to light back in 2010 through a access to information request by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation that chief was one of the among, I should say, the top 6 highest paid chiefs in Canada, earning more than $170,000, higher than some provincial premiers. It even came to light that some councillors were taking home over $240,000. So after that information came to light, there was much pressure on the band council to reform its salaries and what it was paying itself. We do know that the chief has since taken a $30,000 pay cut, but still, even with that said, he's still making $111,000 in annual salary,
really?
Plus $80,000 in travel-related expenses. He's not alone. There's still band council members still being paid some hefty sums.
But Nicole, what are band members saying about all this?
Yeah, that was my next point. Yeah. There's still much frustration. This is a community that has certainly dealt with a lot of flooding, no question. They've seen flooding virtually almost every spring in recent years. With that said, though, they've received millions and millions of dollars, but people still living in temporary housing. And this is a band that did settle various land claim disputes and currently has over $190 million invested. Yet still, there's some financial issues, and they still have at least reportedly $22 million in debt. So we know that accountability and transparency remains serious issues on this community. And hopefully this audit that's currently underway can get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, hopefully so. $190 million in investments, yet all these problems on the reserve, it's certainly not adding up. Like I said, sad theme. All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks, Nicole.